As I walk on this path of life, guided by the awesomeness insight. Every word, every line, every page I read, transforming my soul, planting a seed. Embracing the wisdom of the ancient text, in every chapter feeling blessed. The truth it unveils, the secrets it holds, connecting me to the universe's moves. Living in harmony, in peace and love, enlightened, shining from above. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. Embracing the light, letting go of the dark. In every moment, creating my mark. Through trials and tribulations I stand tall, but watch these teachings breaking every wall. My spirit soaring, my heart at peace. In the wisdom of a wasp, finding release. Aligned with the cosmos in perfect flow, living by its principles, letting my light glow. Harmony and love, the essence of my being. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. Embracing the light, letting go of the dark. In every moment, creating my mark. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. Embracing the light, letting go of the dark. In every moment, creating my mark. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. In the stillness of my soul, a new dawn. A new dawn, embracing the light, letting go of the dark. Oh, the dark, in every moment, creating my mark, letting my mark. Oh, I spit, guiding me on. I spit, guiding me on. Oh.
Welcome to the JEHOVIH Chronicles with your host, Cosmon Cal.
Create a gang is crazy. Boy, y'all better pay attention. Create a gang is crazy. Boy, y'all better pay attention.
That's right. Back like I left something, Mr. Hostess with the mostest burning light toast is Cosmon Cal. Man, check it back in from Etheria. Hey, just jumped out the Otavan, took off my Ethereum driving gloves. You dig what I'm talking about? My Aegean goggles. You dig what I'm talking about? And I'm down here in Ooze. We're checking back in on the genealogical side of the information. And one thing you're going to notice, especially with this understanding that many of the Negroes in America are indigenous to America, right? That the person that they call an African American is actually an Indian, right? You will undoubtedly, I'm almost guaranteeing it, when you're going back to do your own personal genealogy, you are going to run into the title of mulatto. And during these times, you're going to see your people, especially in the 1800s, late 1700s, being misnomered as mulattoes, and they are naming unmixed, totally unmixed Indians mulattoes, and they're titling and misnomering mixed Indians, right? And then they're also tying in African Indian mixes and also people from Africa and Europe tied in, and they're all mulattoes, but they're misnomering the Indians, right? So right here, we got the Native American Guardians Association, or NAGA, right? And we see right here, we have the mulatto and the American Indian. It says, where words and definitions are being redefined almost daily to fit a political agenda, many honorable individuals are caught in an unenviable position of censorship and genocide. That's right. You can genocide a people without killing them. Huh? It's called paper genocide. When you take an Indian and you call him black and you call him Negro. Huh? When you take an Aboriginal American and you call him Indian. It's a misnomer. Especially when you take these Indian people, quote unquote, these Aboriginal Americans over hundreds of years, and in the end of the day, remove their total identity and culture to a continent that they have never been, and call these people Africans and Americans. That is proof of a genocide of a people done on paper. Now, if they dare to speak out in contradiction to this new political agenda, they are chastised and ridiculed, called phonies and frauds. We don't care nothing about that. We're going to get to the truth. Ain't that right? That's right. Hey, look, if you ain't worried about nothing else but some truth, man, hit me with a 1 in the chat. Let's keep going. The word mulatto is such a word. The definition in today's world describes it as a person of white and black heritage, whatever that is. Although this is true to a point, it is historically false in that it is an oversimplification. From the earliest U.S. Census, the term mulatto or free people of color was used to describe individuals of mixed race or what they believed was mixed race. They believe these people to be mixed race. What do you call a red bone? Huh? They ain't mixed with nothing. But they light skinned. Did they call these people mulattoes? We seeing that they did. From the earliest U.S. Census, the term mulatto or free people of color was used to describe individuals of mixed race, which included mixed race blood American Indians who were subject to tax laws and U.S. government. Look, the colonial and antebellum eras. Historically, in the American South, the term mulatto was applied to persons with mixed Native American and African American ancestry. But ain't that a misnomer right there? Because isn't the African and excuse me, my bad. Where was I at? Ain't the African and the American already admixed? If you're trying to tell me here African American, well, who is the other American that this African is mixing with? And then if you mix them back with a Native American, who, by the way, at this point we understand that this Native American term was created in the 1960s. And when we talk about the true Native, we're talking about the copper-colored aboriginals found here. You dig what I'm talking about, by Columbus in it. Not the Mongoloidal Native American types on reservations and today. No. So you got to kind of dodge the hijack a little bit, right? Notice this term mulatto was used to describe individuals of mixed race. How you know they mix? How you know they mix in 1705? Are you practicing lookership? Of course you are. Historically, in the American South, the term mulatto was applied to persons of mixed Native American and African American history. Synoxy. So, an African and an American back to another an American. Ain't that an American? They're trying to fit these people into the theory of evolution, and they think just because their skin was light that they had to be mixed. Think Stephen Curry. Light skin, come from two nigga parents. But if you looked at him in 1705, oh, no, he mixed with an African and a white boy, a black and a white. Oh, no. See how easy it is to misnomer somebody? Especially when you're purposely trying to do it. For example, a 1705 Virginia statute reads as follows: and for clearing all manner of doubts which hereafter may happen to arise upon the construction of this act or any other act, who shall be accounted a mulatto, be enacted and declared, and it is hereby enacted and declared that the child of an Indian and the child, grandchild, or great-grandchild of a Negro shall be deemed, accounted, held, and taken to be a mulatto. So the Indians, the children, the grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Indians shall be deemed and accounted and held and taken to be mulatto. This classification continued into the 20th century, but it has become a weapon of progressives in their agenda-driven pursuit in recent years. One of the hardest hit communities by this new destructive agenda is that of the American Indian. You see? The first contact between the American Indians and other races resulted in mixed-blooded children. Many of these children grew up in limbo and without a voice, but knew their ancestry. By the time of the creation of the United States, this mixed blood demographic numbered in the thousands. For those that stayed with their tribes, they were absorbed into the general tribal population and needed no special category or classification and were not counted on the U.S. Census because the tribes were considered sovereign nations. However, this was not true for those living within the non-Indian communities. I want y'all to listen. The federal government requires 1/4 special Indian blood or quarter Indian blood to be recognized as such for tribal enrollment. In the American Indian community, we see tribes rejecting legitimate members over personal opinions or vendettas, even when providing proof of 1/4 or better tribal blood. But we also see newfound Indian communities accepting members with as little as 1/256th blood degree or less, through mere statements of connecting lineal descendants to a name on a 1890, 1930, or 1950 census roll, regardless of blood quantum. This helps boost their tribal numbers for federal dollars. Along with this relatively new standard for tribal membership, individuals with less than 1% newly found American Indian blood have been given a voice, where individuals with as much as 50% American Indian blood have none. Look at that. For example, if a native person is 3/16 Chippewa, 3/16 Sioux, 3/16 Mandan, for a total of 9/16 American Indian, but not enough of one tribe to be officially enrolled, are they less American Indian because of this? Huh? And what happens when you mix a Chippewa, a Sioux, a Mandan with an Algonquin? You make a nigga. I keep telling you, the nigga and the Negro not the same people. The Negro is from Africa. The nigga is the brown man of America, or the Niji. However you want to pronounce it. The nigga is from America. The Negro is from Africa. They're two different people. Huh? These individuals do not show up on tribal enrollment rolls. To add to the disparagement, by the late 1830s, the tribes east of the Mississippi, listen, in the southeast, had moved west of the Mississippi, leaving many tribal members behind. As these members integrated into American society, they did not forfeit their Indian blood, but they had no recognized tribal status. So if you stayed back in the southeast, you had no recognized tribal status. The tribal history was handed down from parent to child, grandchild to great-grandchild. The traditional tribal customs, practices, and heritage were observed. For the U.S. federal census, they became what? If you stayed back, if you didn't go, if you didn't move, if your people stayed in the South, for the U.S. federal census, they became mulattoes, or free people of color. They were just lumped in with all the other mixed blood races, but their voice as an American Indian was removed. Dig this, y'all. Between 1790 and 1870, the majority of mulattoes might be considered mixed blood of American Indian heritage. Mulattoes were classified as free people of color, while the majority of African Americans, watch, dodge the hijack. And I'm not saying that there wasn't no people from Africa, but ain't no proof that Americans was just breeding with them. And then how would you tell African American from an American American if they both copper color? If the African has a baby with an Indian, the baby still come out brown. How does a white man tell the difference using lookership? You see the trick? Huh? You can't tell the difference if the baby brown. So what about the African always makes the skin light? I keep telling y'all, them people that got enslaved in the Caribbean was pale faces from Europe that had got enslaved in Western Africa. They got sold to the brown skinned brothers who enslaved them in the Caribbean. Primarily the Europeans that came over here 1492 and on, especially for the first 100 to 200 years or so, were primarily, I'm talking about the ship owners, the people who insured indentures, all the conquistadors, all them was niggas or brown skinned Europeans. Let me be more exact. right? Brown-skinned Europeans. See, there are pale-skinned Europeans and brown Europeans. There are pale-skinned Africans and brown Africans. The American is just primarily copper color. But guess what? There's pale Americans too. They don't come from nowhere. That's 100% Indian, 100% also Negroid. It is what it is. You got to get past the lookership. Mulattoes were classified as free people of color, while the majority of African Americans at the time were classified as slaves. And this is why during the time where you see many of this so-called enslavement going on from the early 1800s to, let's say, 1860, right? Many of your Indian people are being called mulatto. Also, they're being called white. Let that sink in. Mulattoes were classified as free people of color, while the majority of African Americans at the time were classified as slaves who had a separate listing regardless of blood quantum for census records. Right? So by 1870, after the Civil War, these African Americans became free people of color, which expanded the number of those classified as mulattoes by hundreds of thousands. You see? Using the 1860 U.S. federal census records of Minnesota, we can clearly show that this is a fact. Joseph R. Brown was an Indian agent married to a full-blood Sioux woman. He was listed as white. Mr. Brown's wife is listed as Indian. And their 9 children are listed as what? Mulatto. The Minnesota Pembina County census has the vast majority of Brown's children listed as mulatto, and we know them to be white and Indian. Another issue that contributes to the confusion is that during the 1880s and 1890s on reservations, and this is during Reconstruction, this is during the disenfranchisement of the melanated Aboriginal of America, They call it Reconstruction. They call it Jim Crow. We call it Reconstruction, right? It's all the disenfranchisement of the Negro of America, the nigga of America. Tribal members were all but required to take white names. Listen, another issue that contributes to the confusion is that during the 1880s and 1890s on reservations, tribal members were all but required to take white names for government tracking purposes. Beginning with the 1900 federal census, reservations and reservation boarding schools were now included. The top half of the census page listed name, age, gender, and birthplace, and the bottom half listed their Indian name, tribe, and even blood degree. For political purposes, the term mulatto has been hijacked to give voice to one race only, denying all other historical races. Another issue which further complicated the process of enumerating Indian people was counting Indian people of mixed blood in the census. It was decided that persons of mixed white and Indian blood living in white communities were assimilated and would be counted as white. What? So if your people lived in the burbs, might have been light skinned, red bones, they got counted as white folks. Now, here again, we can show proof that many American Indian mixed bloods were listed as white. On the 1850, listen, many American Indian mixed bloods, so-called mixed bloods, we aren't sure that they're mixed, white folks saying they mixed, right? American Indian mixed bloods were listed as white, right? So if they mixed blood, how they white? So we also know right here, this is revealing something to y'all. White has nothing to do with skin color. White is a social class. It puts you in a tax bracket. It makes you descentable. Right? Because if these American Indians is mixed bloods, let's just say they is. We know that the Indian is the copper-colored American Negro today. Right? So if he mixed blood, how is he white? He was copper-colored then. So that just lets you know this has something to do with political status, social classing. White has nothing to do with skin color. Get that in your minds. In 1850 Minnesota federal census, every name on the many pages is listed as white. In actuality, except for some of the fathers, all are mixed blood Indians, all of them. We know this from Indian censuses and official depositions applying for land scripts under the mixed blood land scripts of 1857. I'm going to definitely get into that bill probably tomorrow. The mixed blood land scripts. A lot of people don't know that they was giving out this land, but then they was doing the people dirty on the land, making them pay and then killing them in many instances and just taking the land. It was crazy. With the 1924 American Indian Citizen Act, the government calculated that roughly 300,000 American Indians were living in the United States. It's an impossibility. Huh? It's an impossibility. How do we know? Because many of the people who was left back in the South got turned into mulattoes. The Indians that was left in the Southeast got turned into free people of color and mulattoes, correct? So many of our grandmas and them stayed. They didn't move. They ain't go on no Trail of Tears. They didn't do no indentures. They just stayed where they was at. Huh? See how the Indian turns into mulatto, turns into a Negro. Just about where you at and them changing your social status because you didn't agree to none of this. They just did it. They didn't have to ask your permission. Right? The government calculated it was only roughly 300,000 American Indians. And probably many of them are the Mongoloids. Right? Who you would call civilized tribe ass niggas. Them ain't us. Of that number, there was 175,000 self-identified but not enrolled members of any tribe. Of that 125,000 tribally enrolled members, the act brought them in for counting on the federal census and protection by federal laws, which had not existed until then. The American Indian birthright citizenship issue wouldn't be settled until 1924, when the Indian Citizenship Act conferred citizenship on all American Indians, making them part of the corporation. At the time, 125,000 of the estimated population of 300,000 American Indians weren't citizens. Them your grandma and them. Many of them is your grandma. Right? We can justifiably assume those numbers to be low, as much mixed blood had been listed as white or mulatto. See? By the time of the fourth and fifth generations, these individuals no longer even knew they had Indian blood. But for many of those families, their history was kept alive through storytelling. Others are just now becoming aware through DNA and have begun looking for the needle in the haystack, looking at the DNA conclusions on indigenous people. Most professionals agree this term refers to those of the Americas, North, Central, and South America, because separating them is all but impossible. You see that? By using the word indigenous, an individual who connects to the southern tip of Argentina can now speak for the North American Indians. Can't be done. while at the same time denying actual North American Indians who actually know their heritage. You see that? Right? What about Kenneth Alexson, PhD, in his May 2007 dissertation paper, which is now cited numerous times, writes, Creoles are of black and white heritage. Is that true, y'all? Huh? The question becomes how this determination was brought about. Yeah. And why it is a false conclusion and misleading. Again, we see many of the Indians was labeled white. Many of the Indians was labeled black. So wouldn't they just be Indians if that's the case? That's why the whole statement is false and misleading. Again, we see a distorted picture using less than half the facts and geared towards eradicating and giving voice to one race, and sponsored and overseen by so-called educators. Even in Dr. Alexson's writings, he referenced Creole terms, leaving out obvious factual information that does not fit his agenda-driven writings. Damn, they put him on blast. Have we entered a new policy resembling the 1950s Indian Termination Act? We're going to get into that too on the next one. How many of y'all knew about the 1950s Indian Termination Act? To terminate the Indian. That's going to be one of my next ones too. The only difference is this one is driven by education instead of the federal government. Huh? We're going to get into that. We have now reached time for some conclusions and the purpose of this writing. Where today's activists, regardless of race, have for many years manipulated the truth to give voice to an ideological point of view while censoring opposing opinions as well as the contributing facts, one can only conclude nothing. Not a single word coming from their mouths is believable. Look at that. As we have clearly shown, prior to 1870, the vast majority of mulattoes in the United States were American Indians. You see? This classification continued until the 1930s. It's not clear just when the definition of mulatto changed to fit a political agenda. Again, we can assume it took place around 1973 when the APA changed its long-held standard from scientific research and data collection to a strictly ideological focus. Incidentally, the definition of Redskins also changed along with this same time, within this same time frame. Whereas a tiny but vocal group of non-Indian elite educators and Indian activists are now using this false claim to censor opposing views, including American Indians. Truth is more vital today than ever before. I'm going to repeat that. Truth is more vital today than ever before. With the fabricated and false definition of mulatto and other terms and others to mean black and white heritage, they use the new definition to attack and discredit American Indians. Let that sink in. The biggest question becomes, why is the education system working so hard to eradicate the American Indian? These are some of the census papers that they was talking about. See if I can blow that up a little bit. Probably no good. Where's some of this from? 12th census of the United States, scheduled population, Indian population. Yeah, it don't blow up, but he got it up there. We can go check it out. So when you're doing your own genealogy and you run across that mulatto in your family, don't think that that's because somebody in your family got raped by a white man from Europe. Because if you do have any European in your family, remember he probably a nigga like you. He black. He got melanin. Many of them people coming over here from France, from Ireland, from Scotland, from England, was being kicked out of that country, was darker than anybody we talking to on this panel. We got to get past the looker shit. We got to get past the color shit. You can't never know who. And then you finding out that you got these so-called white people that's really Indians. They don't want to hear it. It's sad that I have to tell it. You dig what I'm saying? That means that something already went wrong. These type of videos don't get a lot of views. Y'all thumb up the video and share it out, man. I'm not even gonna be long on this one. I just wanted to come in and share that with you. You know, because you're going to run into it, and understanding that many times with that mulatto status comes into your family, they're talking about an Indian. Just to remember that the Indian is you. That's all you got to do. Hey, with that being said, I want y'all to breathe in. Let that light in, because I'm Cosmon Cal, and I'm out.
Shout out to Cosmon Cal. Cosmon Cal, boy, I'm going to tell you something. He is a problem. He is a problem when it comes to these Hebrew Israelites. Y'all better stop playing. He is a problem. Cosmon Cal is a problem. Creator gang.
And oh yeah, put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh, just that Japheth, that chow mein, that Papabul, that Tao mein, since sun south in the arc of Wayne, my brain moving like Tao Sang, so ass above, it's so below, that up and that down thing, this flow is atmospherian, I call that a ground game, see water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning, so how your God make a sun without vortexing current, see the pattern is ponic, I'm reaching out for my people, oh watch me flow through your speakers, you feel the force of the ether, and when the force gets the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing Puerto. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN. It's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rapper.
See, this is a benefit for not leaving early. I wanted to show y'all something, but I forgot to even put it up there. Let me show y'all how these babies think. We can say all we want. We can say what we want, right? But the baby's always going to tell the truth, ain't they? The baby's always going to tell the truth, ain't they? This is a bonus of just staying around and hanging around, watching to the end. Just a different point of view, y'all. Check this out.
Including me, have white mothers who do not talk about their blackness during their childhood.
White moms or
non-black
moms can't show you a perspective like how black moms can. And that's not their fault. But we have to find that perspective on our own.
Mixed children who have white mothers tend to be more exposed to internalized racism and colorism because of the lack of intersectionality among white feminists.
People are like, yeah, children with white moms tend to be a little anti-black. And I was like, shoot, I got a white mom. I will admit that there was some definite anti-blackness like stuff when I lived with my white mom.
And my grandmother sees my brother's shirt and he's wearing a shirt that looks just like this with Malcolm X and the rifle. And my grandma is like, really? Malcolm X with a gun? So violent.
We live in a predominantly white area in a country that's controlled by whiteness. The information that you receive about Black people from society is all just stereotypes. This is what can cause them to begin to see their Blackness in a negative light, because no one at home is mentioning their Blackness and how it's powerful and beautiful.
This is a Facebook post from my uncle. You can pause to read if you want. But basically, he was saying that he'll kill any Black Lives Matter or Antifa protester if defund the police were to actually be achieved. He knows I'm very passionate about Black Lives Matter and have always been attending or organizing protests. So when he says stuff like that, he's directly threatening my life.
So many commenters were saying things like, oh, I didn't know my culture. I have a white mom and I didn't know my culture. Why would you expect a white woman to teach you about your Black culture? Where was your Black father? And the issue is misogynoir, where some Black men, not all, but some Black men are only with white women because of the closer proximity to whiteness, and they put down their own women and own culture as a result. Us mixed kids need to combat that misogynoir as well as the internalized racism.
Well, my mom was definitely like this before she had me, before they met. And she, the family was worse. Like, honestly, they had a nickname for my dad. It involved the N-word. That was really hard to find out.
So I posted on Facebook about neocolonialism and white tourism in the Bahamas, and here's my white family's response. My main problem is with this first sentence. Please remember that you're half or more white. That is so out of pocket. Like, how are you just gonna assume that my ancestors were sexually assaulted? Like, off rip.
In elementary school, I remember telling people that I was white. I never said Black. And if people asked, I would say, oh, well, white and Black. I would always put white first. And I hated my hair. I hated it.
If you want your child to be proud of who they are, their Blackness is a part of that. You can't just pick and choose parts of our identity that you want to accept and dismiss the others. That just further reinforces the idea that Blackness is taboo and negative.
You clearly don't know how race works because, no, I'm not half white. I'm racially 100% Black, just like my mom has green eyes, but that doesn't mean I'm half green-eyed. My experience is Black. That's all I know. I won't be half denied a job. I won't be half murdered by the police. I am Black. That's it.
Additionally, mixed people aren't superhuman. You didn't just create a new category of race by sleeping with a Black man. Our Blackness doesn't just disappear, it's still there. And if you say that you don't feel the need to talk about color, then you're just saying that you want to remain ignorant. Not to just our experiences, but also the greatness in our Black identity.
John James has some funny math. He supported a plan that raises taxes on us while refusing to make the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share. John James isn't trying.
And oh yeah, put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feel it when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh, it's that Japheth, that Chow Mein, that Papa Bull, that Tao Mein, since sunset in the arc of Wayne. My brain moving like Tao Sang, so as above, it's so below. That up and that down thing, this flow is atmospherian. I call that a ground game. See, water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning. So how your God make a sun without vortexing current? See the pattern is ponic, I'm reaching out for my people. Oh, watch me flow through your speakers, you feel the force of the ether. And when the force gets the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing put equal. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN. It's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rap a lot just like Tila. Went from sinner to saint. Shout out my big homie Sealer. Got more torque than a sports car. Got more work than a door stop. In the 4 million I make, I'm giving the Dr. Umar. Oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feel it when you're feeling up there. yeah. When you in the sky, breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky, breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Super 7 in my rites and ceremonies. I'm married to Jehovah, holy matrimony. Confucius say, in the words of Caillou, before you hit the tomb, be a bridegroom. Only got one question for Miss Susan B. On how to last Ahuin is now a Angui. Blame my inspiration, I'm just thinking thoughts. But in the way of God's, we gon' keep it short. Why Jesus wanna kill me, Matthew 10:34. Just a couple questions that I'm needing to know. Oh, I speak flow, it's so potent. Set the vortex in motion. Super 7, I'm floating across the Aegean Ocean. Oh, you a Muslim now, so I guess you making salat. Well, I'm an Israelite, I'ma make him at the Shabbat. Got Moses on the bumper, super slap off in my spaceship photosphere. So I stay lit, peace and light to the faith is so yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feeling up there. When you in the sky, breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah.